Oh boy. Well, it means you're missing something. And from this distance, it's very hard to tell what it might be. If you had nice association, that would help. If you were to practice chanting offenselessly, that would help. I have no idea what your situation is or what your mental condition is or anything like that. So it's very hard to diagnose this kind of a problem, remotely in any event. But generally speaking, when people can't follow the regulative principles, it's usually a problem of association. If we have nice relationships and if we have a nice environment, then pure environment and pure relationships with other devotees, then the urge for sense gratification is reduced almost to nothing. And then you add on top of that chanting. Everybody's kind of nodding their heads here, all the boys. If you add on top of that nice chanting and beautiful kirtans and deity worship and nice prasadam and everything, this lifestyle is very, very pleasant. It's more pleasant, actually, than, working for a living and living in an apartment or in a town or something. The mode of goodness has its own pleasures, which are in line with religious principles, but they're very satisfying, more satisfying than the mode of passion, which tends to increase desires. Now, again, because of our conditioning. A lot of us seem to approach devotional service as another kind of mode of passion thing. I'll do more service and more and more and more and more. And it's a big effort and like this. And, maybe you're trying too hard. Maybe you should take up a level of service that you feel comfortable with, that you can sustain, that you can maintain for some time. And then later on, if you come into a higher association, then maybe, you can increase your service without falling down. But generally, when somebody's going up and down and up and down and up like this, that means they're trying for something that's beyond their means, beyond their level. So, you really need the association of a pure devotee. I mean, that really is the most helpful, most inspiring thing. And when you have that association, it's like somehow all this material stuff doesn't seem to matter as much. You can feel like one time a devotee said, you can feel that you're having a love affair with Krishna. And even, it's like when you have a roommate that has a lover, and even though you don't see directly what they're doing, you can feel it. It's in the next room. And that's true. That's what it's like. And if you have that association, then it becomes much easier, because the idea of having a love affair with Krishna becomes real to you. You see somebody in that mood, and it's like, oh yeah, that's real. You can actually do that. Oh yeah, you can do that. Wow, well that's cool. I want to try to do that. See? Then you have the confidence of seeing this other person who's already there. But what I think is what happens with a lot of devotees is that they don't know anybody like that. They don't have any direct association with someone who is already in that stage of devotional service. And so they're going on pure faith. And of course, faith is not very good. Faith is not a very strong basis for a lifestyle. You want to know, you want to have confidence that, if I do this and I do that and I put out so much effort over such a long period of time, I'm actually going to get somewhere that I want to go. So, I don't know. I don't know your particular situation, but I have seen similar cases, and usually it was a matter of association, or they weren't sincere. You know, so you have to examine yourself very carefully, what it is that you really want in life. And then you take up that situation, that association. If you want to be a half-hearted, lukewarm devotee, then hang out with half-hearted, lukewarm devotees. But if you want to be a pure devotee and you want to actually attain love of Godhead, then associate with someone who has love of Godhead. That's probably the best advice that I can give.
Question from Varun. Babaji, my arguments...
From who?
From Varun.
Varun.
Babaji, my arguments with my friend end at this point. He asks me, where does the Supreme Being come from? I do not have an answer to this question. The answer that he does not have an origin or end does not satisfy him. How can
he's a stupid idiot. There are two classes of entities, absolute and relative. Huh? There is one being in the class of absolute, and that is Krishna. All others are in the class of relative. Krishna is the absolute. And without the absolute, nothing else can exist. But he doesn't require anything else to exist. He is self-sufficient. He's the self-sufficient philosopher who has been creating this existence from time immemorial. Time without memory, beyond time, eternity. So, you know, if this friend of yours is not intelligent enough to understand, it's like he's been cursed. You will never be able to convince him because, Krishna has cursed him that he cannot understand the concept of God. Actually, God is not a very good idea. The word God, if you look in the dictionary, is usually defined actually in relation to the material world, isn't it? God, commonly thought of as the creator and or controller of the material world. You know, sometimes believed to be a transcendental being. Well, what kind of God is that? If you define God in terms of the material world, then you're making God into a material being. Well, that's stupid, because God has to be beyond the material world. Otherwise, there's really no meaning to the word God. You know, as in the God, like the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, God, first of all, must be transcendental. Transcendental means beyond this material existence. That's the meaning of it. I mean, the soul is also transcendental. We're all pure consciousness, pure Brahman. But we're infinitesimal, and God is unlimited. Krishna is unlimited. Brahman is unlimited. That's part of the definition. See? And what people usually try to do, where they get hung up or where they get mixed up, is that they try to apply material reasoning to a spiritual subject like what is God. If you apply material reasoning, material logic, material thought, and you try to understand God in the Aroha Pantha, the upward path, the ascending path, then you'll get confused. You won't be able to reach. But if you accept transcendental logic, the logic of achintya bheda bheda tattva, simultaneous inconceivable oneness and difference between God and his energies, and then you accept the avaroha pantha, the descending path of deductive logic, you see, then you'll be able to understand everything very nicely. But you have to accept this one assumption, that God is absolute. Krishna is absolute. Krishna is the absolute, and everything else is coming from him. We quoted those verses earlier. Nityo nityanam, chaitanash chaitananam. And Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam. Purnat Purnam Udachyate. The complete whole, the eternal, unlimited, conscious source of everything. I mean, this is the basic concept of Vedic philosophy. That's why we start in our Bhakta course with studying Ishopanishad, because Ishopanishad expresses this so nicely. And this is the Rosetta Stone, that every bona fide system of philosophy, every bona